Hi, and welcome to the Connected Places Catapult Venture and Investor Pitch and Meet event. Thank you for taking part in this event, which we hope you'll enjoy. Our goal today is to introduce investors to a selection of our innovative and exciting ventures seeking investment. My name is Yusuf Shadden. I'm the SME Investor Relations Manager. It's my pleasure to host today's event. I'll be supported today by our events team and one of my team colleagues, Alex Lamley. For those of you who know me, great to see you here again, and great to see you again. I recognise quite a few names in the in the list here today. And for those of you who haven't had a chance of meeting yet, I look forward to meeting you in the near future. So the Connected Places Catapult are the UK's innovation accelerator for cities, transport, and place leadership. Our purpose is to connect places for the future. Next slide, please, Alex.
For millennia, cities have been places where bright ideas spark. From the earliest riverside trading posts that turned into today's sprawling megacities in the digital global economy. Cities can create positive experiences for people, always connected by technology. And when connected places work well, it's good for people and the planet. But making a connected place succeed is hard. There's loads of stakeholders, businesses, regulators, and community groups who want to be involved across every mode of transport, every type of building, the infrastructure that underpins them, and the data and digital platforms that connect them. All of this is needed to help people, communities, neighbourhoods, and local businesses to prosper. Now, more than ever, we need our connected places to succeed. We are in a climate emergency. Rapid urbanisation means 3/4 of us will be living in a city by 2050. And new technologies are revolutionising the way that we live, the way we work, and the way we travel, creating fantastic opportunities for innovation, jobs, and growth. At Connected Places Catapult, we connect people, places, and businesses for a future of sustainable growth and prosperity. We are the UK's innovation accelerator for cities, transport, and place leadership. We are trusted across government, industry, and academia, connecting new technologies, business models, and investment opportunities. So join with us and be better connected for a future of sustainable growth and prosperity.
Great stuff. Here's the agenda for today. So to start with, I'll share a little bit more about the programs that we run at the Connected Places and answer any important questions you might have. In around 5 minutes, we'll start with the SME pitches, of which have been arranged in program order. So we've got our Maritime Accelerator SMEs pitching first, followed by TRIG, the Transport Research Innovation Grant, and then National Highways. We're due to end at 1:30 and we have no scheduled breaks. Next slide, please. So in addition to our Super 7 ventures on the call today, we're also joined by a number of Catapult aligned investors representing family offices, angel investors, syndicates, corporates, brokers, and funds. We also have colleagues and peers from Innovate UK, the Advanced Propulsion Centre, and Connected Place as well. So welcome all and thank you for joining. Next slide, please. The format for today, each venture was going to provide an elevator style pitch of around 3 to 5 minutes. And given the complexity of some of the solutions, they've done amazingly well to get their pitches down to that amount of time. They'll then be able to take a question or two from any of our investors. Investors, please raise your hand so we can invite you to ask your question. Each SME is going to have a total of 10 minutes for their pitch and the Q&A. Given the breadth of investors joining us today, I'd like to invite 1 or 2 investors to introduce themselves before each of the 3 sections. Be great to have some volunteers. Otherwise, I'll just pick out some names from the list. In terms of post-event follow-ups, investors, please email me with the names of the ventures you're interested in and how you'd like to proceed with next steps. I can share their pitch deck, answer any initial questions, or connect you directly via email. Next slide, please. So we run two main types of programs at Connected Places Catapult. We have our innovation funding programs, which support earlier stage ventures and SMEs, typically at the TRL 2 to 5-ish. The program provides SMEs with essential business support, business contacts, commercial support, grant funding, and live test beds. The program applications are very competitive. Each application is reviewed by technical, commercial, and sometimes policy experts. And there's an interview process and an onboarding process to ensure we've got a high quality of ventures aligned with the program challenge areas. In terms of early stage programs, over the last 4 years, we've worked with a number of different areas, including rail, freight, aviation, accessibility, and government policy. Two of the ventures you'll be meeting today are from the TRIG, the Transport Research Innovation Grant, a very successful program funded by the Department for Transport. Next slide, please. In terms of our accelerators, they typically support slightly more advanced startups, so around the TRL 5 to TRL 6 or 7, who are ready to pilot their solutions within existing supply chains. The accelerators work across a number of our ecosystem and technology areas, including climate tech, sustainability, sustainable building materials, and air mobility. We also run programs taking UK SMEs abroad, for example, our Diatomics India program. Next slide, please. In terms of our investor relations program, our investor relations program has the vision to become the go-to organisation that connects investors to the most exciting ventures with solutions across cities, places, and transport. Now in its second year, we're continuing to build out our network of aligned investors, which also include CVCs and Series B investors. We're helping investors understand the importance of the sectors we work in, and we're helping them to understand how we're helping to reduce investment risk. Alongside our programs, we're helping prepare our SMEs to engage with the right investors, then facilitate introductions. We're continuing to develop our program of investor-related activities and communications, which include our investor update communique, investment events, and on the 18th of September, we'll be running our first investor-focused quarterly webinar. We're ultimately helping investors with their deal flow and helping SMEs close their investment rounds. Next slide, please. Okay, so without further ado, let's move on to our first program area, our Maritime Accelerator. We will be hearing from Spotship, Ant Machines, and Ensemble Analytics. Next slide, please. So this program is managed by Ivona Wilk. This program is now in its third year of operation and has supported 16 SMEs so far to help these ventures grow. The program has awarded an average £61,000 of grant funding, and the SMEs on the program have raised almost £23 million of private capital investment. So at this stage, are there two maritime investors that would like to introduce themselves? Maybe just a minute to introduce yourself, say hello, and the types of ventures you're looking for.
I'm happy to go ahead, Yusuf.
Hi, Joshua. Good to see you. Please.
It's always a pleasure to see you. And everyone else that I see here. So TMV is a New York fund. We're early stage. We started in 2017. We're currently raising investing from our third fund. And half of the fund is focused on logistical supply chain. I hate supply chain. It's so broad and ambiguous, but let's say physical logistical. Our backgrounds are mainly in maritime. So we have a very strong focus on maritime ports. And we're now building that out into drayage and rail freight. We're SaaS focused only, invest globally. Our sweet spot, as usual, for this range is the seed, and our ticket size is between $500,000 up to $5 million. So, and we view that we are able to make introductions and also give specific industry advice. Thank you, Yusuf.
Thank you, Joshua. And maybe another maritime-related investor. Who do we have? We've got perhaps John Can over in Singapore, or maybe Mohammed Kantar.
Yes, I was about to volunteer, Yusuf. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name is Mohammed Kantar. I'm the co-founder of Kantar Advisory. We are based here in the UK, but also we have a big presence in the Middle East. The interest here is on the maritime and the logistics and supply chain side, because we work both with startups that are bringing climate solution and as well as with investors and funds that are focusing on this sector in particular. And when it comes to the Middle East, there is a big interest around supply chain, decarbonizing supply chain on one hand, and also on the maritime sector, specifically looking at it from our positioning within Abu Dhabi and our relationship to Abu Dhabi ports. So what we're looking for are like solutions that have a product fit or service fit within the Middle East, because most of the investors that we're working with, whether they are family offices or most importantly funds or sovereign wealth funds, that are looking for companies who can bring this product to the Middle East, but also bring in-country value. So whether it is at the moment that you can bring your product to the Middle East or later down the line, then there is an interest for a conversation to be had. And that includes also potential pilot projects on the ground in the Middle East, with a big focus on Abu Dhabi region. So happy to meet with anyone who has this interest and take it forward to our investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. So next slide, please. So up first, I'd like to introduce our first SME pitching today, James Kellett of Spotship. Spotship is a platform for shipbrokers, charterers and operators that provides its users with powerful tools designed to drastically increase workflow and productivity. Spotship has circa £1 million of space within its £2.5 billion raise, and I'd like to hand over to James.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me just share a slide very quickly. Yusuf, is that visible in the way it should be?
Yeah, it looks good.
Perfect. Okay, good afternoon. My name is James Kellett, and I'm founder and CEO of Spotship. Spotship is solving data for commodity shipping. Commodity shipping is one of the biggest industries that nobody ever really thinks about. Over $250 billion are spent annually chartering ships to move the commodities around the world that it needs. In terms of comparing that to the containerized market that investors are usually more familiar with, it's over 10 times the amount of ships. It's an ancient industry where processes have barely changed in 2,000 years. We identified the brokers, the key intermediaries in this market, as those most benefiting from data and better analysis technology. So this became our wedge into the market. Spotship's tech cuts an existing 6-man-day process down to just 2 hours. So what does the life of a shipbroker look like? I split the tasks of a shipbroker into that of a junior and a senior, though sometimes these roles can blur. Typically, a broker will be performing the tasks of a junior for the first 3 to 5 years of their career. Sadly, it's not very interesting. A shipbroker will receive up to 1,000 emails a day containing ship availabilities, termed position reports. That broker will spend their working week typing these into massive Excel sheets. For example, a tanker list could have 10,000 vessels on it. Considering that most of these emails arrive on a Monday, that's the rhythm ship owners like to work in. Sometimes they'll drip in throughout the week as well, but Monday is the really big burst. It can take them up to Wednesday afternoon or Thursday morning to actually finish getting this data into the massive spreadsheet. Across the corridor, the senior broker is looking for commodity cargoes to move. When they get an inquiry, they will attack this massive spreadsheet looking for 5 to 10 candidate vessels to suggest to their clients. You can imagine looking at a 10,000 row spreadsheet trying to come up with 5 to 10 vessels is a pretty miserable task. So often this will be haphazard. Sometimes it's as basic as printing it out and crossing through the ships that are clearly not a match with a ruler, and then looking at more promising vessels and comparing that to a sea route map and measuring that with a ruler. It really is incredibly backward. They'll then call around looking for candidate ships, When they find a good opportunity, negotiations will ensue before a charter party is signed. Spotship has drastically modernized this process. What we do is we have a stack of 16 AIs that read these emails, store them in a SQL database within a minute, and then we enable querying of that database by a brute force C-route algorithm to come up in just minutes with a candidate list of 5 to 10 vessels that can be sorted by vessel size, first estimated arrival in the target port, or even CO2 emissions, which we were lucky enough to receive a government grant to build the models for. Where are we today? We've got a working platform with some of the biggest brokers in the world using it as happy clients. We track all 110,000 vessels of the global fleet. And most importantly, we have the most accurate AI position passes on the market. It was pretty difficult developing these, and we worked really hard at it. We thought the product near the start of 2023 was pretty good, but we had no idea how good. A conversation with Bill Doby led to him testing, and Bill Doby, just to clarify, is the CEO of Sedna, which is the largest email platform in maritime, Series C stage. They wanted to expand their offering by offering market information within their email platform. They asked us if we'd be happy for them to test the passes, and we came out with 99.7% accuracy. The number 2 on the market, Zero North, only delivers 80%, and the number 3, Signal Ocean, only 69%. It was at this point we realized we built something really special. We contracted with Sedna, who are now our largest client, and this led to the second strand of our strategy, which is an API strategy. So still today, the largest users of our APIs is our core broker platform, but we now have the contract side with Sedna that scaled up quickly, as well as a contract signed with C by Clarksons. At full penetration, the Sedna contract will be worth 2.5 million ARR to us, and the Clarksons contract 12 million. We've got some of our clients presented here. The ones that I'd really draw out as the coolest: IFCO Galbraith's, 3rd largest brokerage firm in the world, Steam 1960, probably number 2 or 3 in Copenhagen, and Chart Shipping, who are a leader in the offshore sector. Through Sedna, you can see we have large owner clients. Everyone in maritime will be familiar with Swire, as well as IMC, and FedNav are the largest ship owner in Canada. Our roadmap's pretty ambitious. 2 years ago, I would say we were building a shipbroker productivity platform. Now we say we're solving data for shipping. Much more ambitious. The core logic required by all market participants, be they cargo owners, ship owners, or brokers, is the same 3 pieces: vessel availability, vessel and cargo availability from emails in 1, live AIS locations number 2, and number 3, a static database on ships and their capabilities. We've already done all the hard work, and that's the trunk of our tree. Everything below the dotted line is built with happy paying clients. Everything above is what we want to do following our Series A that is slated for around December. We want to bring out our broker platform customized for both owners and traders, and we will also be able to front run the likes of Kepler and Vortexa by 3 weeks using usage data from our platform, which would make us the leading indicator on commodity flows globally. In terms of team, we're pretty well-rounded. My background is from the hedge fund world, and then I built the strategy and partnerships function within Improbable, I think the UK's biggest unicorn now. Henry is my co-founder and current COO. He was a Grenadier Guards captain before running a very large Amazon fulfillment center, so has good logistics experience. Mark's an engineer with getting on for 10 years experience, Swiss Army knife engineer, but also a brilliant leader of people. And Federica has been in the shipping industry for over 10 years, where she's built shipbroking teams in over 4 countries. Today, at the end of Q2, we were at about 130K ARR. We're now, I think, north of 150. We're aiming to end the year at about 1 million of ARR. We've raised 3 million to date. And as I mentioned, those 2 large partnerships are enough to get us to Series B, even if we don't sell anything else, which is, of course, not the plan. We've recently signed heads of terms with a company called Invicta, who is systems integrator, which are going to make our APIs more widely available. And we have a partnership at NDA negotiation stage with another large tech player. We're targeting about 4 million ARR by the end of next year, 2025. And it's important to say that this is our lean model. If we stick to this, which will change when we do the Series A, but if we stick to this, we end up run rate profitable in the first half of next year. Right now, we are coming to the end of our third round. We've banked about 1.65 million out of the 2.5 million total to be raised. It's being raised at 2.5 million pre-money. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I do hope you'll come on this journey with us.
Fabulous stuff. Thank you so much, James. We've got time for a question. Okay.
Yusuf, if it's okay, it's Farid here from Sistemanova. James, terrific presentation. Well done. Just a very quick question around one of your slides had this picture of you guys, your technology being used to help reduce time and subsequently carbon dioxide emissions. Can we just go back to that for a quick second and just talk about carbon and climate? How much of that is sort of being translated into your business model when it comes to any sort of carbon removal credits or carbon, sort of avoidance credits or something of that sort? Like, how are you thinking about climate? And are you really pitching yourself primarily as solving for data for shipping, or is there the additional sort of climate ambition there? Please, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. There would be far more climate slides if the presentation was a bit longer. Our ambition is to save 90 million tons a year of CO2 via better vessel selection. Roughly a third of days sailed today are ballast days. We think about 30% of days sailed today are ballast days, i.e. empty sailing days. We think a third of that 30%, so 10 percentage points, are entirely unnecessary if there's better market visibility, which is what we're trying to drive across the market. It remains to be seen whether we're going to get there. We have had climate funds invest in us, as well as receiving green maritime grants. I would say another cool thing in the system that we're aiming to capitalize on more fully is we have the only ex-ante CO2 model for voyage emissions that covers every vessel in the world. So actually, when you run a search on the SpotShip platform, you can sort vessels by CO2 emissions for that voyage, including any ballast leg. And that enables environmentally conscious players to make better environmental choices. We haven't yet linked that up to the EU ETS system and carbon trading. That is on the roadmap. You can probably imagine how busy the roadmap is right now. So that's something that we've pushed back to the end of this year. But we think the opportunity there remains massive.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That's thank you for the question, Farid. Thank you for the answer there, James, and for going first. Great. We'll now move on to our second venture. We have our second venture up. So in the same way that warehouse pallet robots have increased the efficiency of warehouse operations, Ant Machines intends to do the same with its outdoor yard operations. I'd like to welcome Vitaly Chukhanov to say more about Ant Machines. Over to you, Vitaly.
Thank you very much, Yusuf. That's exactly our ambition. That's right. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Lovely, that works. So yes, my name is Vitaly and I'm CEO and co-founder of Ant Machines, where we built electric heavy-duty robots to move loads in logistic terminals. When I say heavy-duty, I mean 30, 40 tons, around that range. We move loads every day. We move loads in ships, trains, trucks, planes, everything that moves, basically. But a ship or a train cannot deliver a load to the end customer. So we need logistics centers to process this, right? These can be ports, these can be land fulfillment centers, warehouses, whatnot, but they have the need to move the same containers or trailers within their perimeters from point A to point B. And right now they use diesel trucks, diesel terminal trucks, predominantly to do the job. At the same time, the yard operations are highly repetitive. They cover short distances, they never go to public roads, So they kind of ask to be automated. We've analyzed the existing solutions. Most of them are built on the previous legacy of manned trucks, which is okay. But if we want to automate something, as Yusuf said in the example of warehouse robots, it makes sense to make a robot, a specialized solution to make the automation more efficient. So we decided to develop that robot. We've assembled a team. As a matter of fact, with most of us worked together before. I'm also not the first time founder. We have expertise on the business development side, on the logistic industry side, and a strong expertise in engineering to cover all the aspects of this development to make sure that we can deliver. We built our prototype, which we tested with various types of assets that are used in internal logistics, so in yard transportation, container, semi-trailer, special equipment. Our robot has various control types. It can be joystick controlled, it can be teleoperated, and it can be fully automated. The control type depends on the use case, on the volume of operations, on the readiness of the site itself for automation, because what we want to achieve is seamless integration into various yard environments, because last thing we want to have is jeopardizing the running operations of the customer. This is completely unacceptable, of course. The bigger vision is, of course, to give more and more automation, because that's what the industry needs. There are solutions like pieces of this puzzle that the Catapult showed before. There are automated warehouses. There are production facilities which do automated loading. There's automated vessel discharge, automated multimodal solutions. But the thing that links this part that links them all together, this central piece of the puzzle, the yard operations, is heavily under-automated now. That's where we see the potential to fill in this link, to automate yard operations, and thus enable creation of fully automated logistic terminals. And has three main benefits. Accents depends on customer preferences. We had a question on decarbonization, for instance. Right now, of course, it's above all efficiency, because efficiency is the cornerstone. We need to be efficient to benefit from the other pillars. But yes, we support decarbonization and also safety in terms of human safety. We remove people from direct work with heavy loads, eliminating the risk, the potential for an injury or a fatality. The yard management market grows per se because international logistics grows, international commerce grows. We need to process more and more loads. But the key drivers are automation and digitalization of the market. So smart yard management is forecasted to grow at more than 16% annually, and we as End Machines want to benefit from that trend. We have also a perspective or the vision of our growth, and it's achievable. So basically, even if we use the bottoms-up approach with 40 deployments at an average of 5 machines per site, we can achieve 200 sales. It's a completely doable thing. We have two layers of revenues. That's one-time and recurring revenue, split into 3 verticals: hardware, software, and associated services. We have already completed 3 successful paid POCs. We're now building 2 pre-industrial units. One of them is sold. The second one will be used for pilot projects with the customers that have shown and confirmed their interest in this. We've received about 1 million in non-dilutive funding, so grants. And very importantly, we managed to build a partner network to do professional assembly, system integration, automation, navigation, so to be able to provide a higher level and solution to the customer. When I talk about customer traction, by the way, it's not just brands, it's really we have a plan of action with each of them, what we want to do and when, in terms of pilot projects and working with them, proving the impact for their applications. We've split our funding ask into 2 rounds. The first one, we want to achieve a very important milestone, that is a completed real-life pilot project. As I said, we already have a plan how to do that. We plan to do this by the end of the year, and then next year we want to raise a big round for commercial scale up, industrial scale up, and of course the investment can be staged. So we would be happy if you join us in this journey to automate logistic terminals. Happy to discuss.
Great stuff. Thank you, Vitaly. Any questions? Can't see any hands up on my screen. Alex, can you see anyone's hands up just yet?
No, I don't see any.
Okay. In that case, Vitaly, so I understand that you have recently won a place, you've been awarded a place. You were selected by the EU Commission to join a Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology. So can you tell us a little bit more about this particular EU Commission week that you've been invited to take part in, and about your global vision as well, please? Yes, that's correct. We are now one of the 40 startups that will join the European delegation to Singapore for the Singapore Week of Innovation and Technology in the end of October. Basically, it is a very good connection to the international aspects of our project, because logistics is international. So yes, we are now focused on the European market, but even our customers, they're all international brands. They have locations all over the world, so we need to be international ourselves. Of course, USA is an important market for us, as well as Asia, Middle East. I know that Singapore is a huge hub, very well known for innovations and for the logistic achievements. Same refers, of course, to Middle East. It's a bit of a reference to the introduction from Mohammed. So we do plan active international expansion as part of our strategy, definitely. Fantastic. Okay, we've got a question from Kantar Advisory Partners, Mohammed.
Yes, thanks, Yusuf. Hi, Vitaly. It's good to hear that you are looking into international expansion. Have you actually touched upon the Middle East at all? Have you initiated any discussions there, or done any kind of like research on the market to see where are your potential like opportunities? This is my first question. My second question, do you feel like at the moment where you stand that you are ready to kind of like do a move towards the Middle East through a pilot project, for example, or that could include a joint venture work with key organizations? Are this like under your capacity at the moment, or you would leave them until a later stage on for your next round?
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. So first of all, we did, of course, do some research on the market. As a matter of fact, it was quite interesting for me as well. We didn't do any active promotions or active sales, but we did receive inquiries also from other markets, especially from North America and South America. In North America, we have very interesting potential on partnerships to build a strong presence there, because this is a very special market. I worked in the United States some years ago, so you really need to handle it very carefully and with due respect, so to say. As for the Middle East, we would be interested in running a pilot project with full transparency. I mean, it just has to make it has to be feasible for us. So we would probably not go there just for the project itself. If it falls in a line of a strategic vision for the development of that market, we'd be very happy to consider that. As I said, we have a lot of international experience in the team. We understand perfectly that we have to be international. All our customers are. So short answer is yes. Longer, let's have a chat beyond this.
Thank you, Vitaly. Yeah, definitely. Let's have a chat after this. Thank you.
Great stuff. Great question. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you, Vitaly. Right, on to our third maritime SME. So we have Our final venture is using data science and machine learning to optimize the operations and labour force management in the maritime industry. I'd like to welcome Cato Davis, who's the co-founder of Ensemble Analytics. When he's not growing his business, he lectures at UCL in energy data analytics, focusing on how big data and machine learning can support the transition to renewable energy. Super interesting. Over to you, Cato. We can't hear you. You're muted.
I am, or I was.
There we go.
Thank you so much for the introduction. As mentioned, I'm Cato. I'm one of the co-founders at Ensemble, and we work in labour deployment using decision science to make better decisions in complex operations. By the end of August, we will be deploying labour for 7% of all of the UK's imports and exports across 5 different sites in the UK. So what we really focus on is what we call vertical specific labour deployment. We go for really complex industries, and the first one that we're tackling is port workforces. Why is it important? Labour still accounts for 61% of the average port's OPEX. The largest UK port spends over £250,000 a day on labour. Labour is still going to be important even in the times of automation. ECT in Rotterdam, which is the most automated terminal in the world, still employs 1,000 people and has 10 people working on labour deployment. There's also a drastic shortage. We expect to see a shortfall of about 400,000 people by 2026. And there's also a real shortage of skills as legacy employees really leave the workforce. Currently, labour deployment in UK ports is all based on Excel or genuinely sometimes whiteboards. So we went in and tried to establish why this was happening. And most of the scheduling software on the market is horizontal. It's aimed at hospitality, it's aimed at retail, rather than actually going industry specific. But we think actually we can now provide great solutions which are industry specific, which offer enough value that people don't use Excel. Why is it so difficult? Unpredictability, vessels arriving early, vessels arriving late, changes of demands for shifts and what shifts are required. They're really large workforces, lots of different rota patterns, and lots of different skills. It's obviously incredibly large, dangerous equipment. People need to be qualified to ensure that they can do these jobs. What's the process at the moment? There's planners. There's, I think in the Humber who we're working with, they have 12 different planners who spend 8 hours every day putting people into roles. There's no automation or data analysis to see how they should optimize their third-party labour spend or overtime. And there's limited compliance checks because everything is manual in all of these different Excel systems. So we've developed what we call Athena, and really what we focus is how we can accommodate the complex rota structures. Often they'll have 8, 9 different rota structures across different groups of employees, integrating with operational systems. So in ports, that's TOS systems, but we've already had discussions with warehouses, that would be warehouse management systems. Port-specific interfaces and instant scheduling. How can we bring that decision science into labour deployment to try and help make people create better decisions faster? We've modelled on previous data. As we said, we're going live this month, but actually we think we can drive efficiency improvements of up to 8%. That's by using the workforce better, reducing underutilisation, and reducing dependency on overtime and third-party contractors by using the skills and hours available across the port more efficiently. Scheduling, make it simple, make it compliant, and reduce the time that's needed to create workforce schedules by 75–80%. Some of the teams are 10, 12 people. And then finally, this sort of engagement side, actually moving things away from the 20th century into the 21st century, giving employees visibility on their shifts and also empowering them to make better decisions, whether that's requesting overtime or just communicating with scheduling teams. At the moment, often they get 12 hours notice because of the complexities of the Excels and the whiteboards limits the sort of digital experience employees can really have. We are founded by myself and Hector. We're now a team of 10 based out of London. We've known each other for 10 years. We both work in UCL in the Energy and AI Lab, which is when we started really developing that. In the last 2 years, I've spent almost every minute of my life going around different ports around the UK and Europe to really try and understand the problem as much as possible and design our solution based on the problems that we've seen. So we've been working with ABP, Bristol, PD and Teesside, Dover, Tyne, DP World, a few of these part of the CPC accelerators, which has been great. But we've also been selected for the Port Excel accelerator. So I spent 3 months in Rotterdam and also Plug and Play. So I've been working with the teams in Antwerp in terms of what we offer and what they really require. In terms of the traction, we're currently flat out working with ABP in Bristol. We're actually turning people down just because we don't really have the bandwidth to provide solutions for them. As discussed in the previous slide, we've been designing this with all of the ports really across the UK. So we've got really great connections to all of the central planning teams, which is hard to do, which we've been working on for the last couple of years. The two big things we're doing at the moment is with ABP. So we're currently deploying in Grimsby and Immingham, which is the biggest port in the UK for tonnage. We're going across 3 of their sites, which is Immingham, Grimsby and Hull in the Humber estuary. We're fully integrating with their SAP system and we're replacing their legacy payroll processing during the trial. We're working with a dedicated team of 4 people from ABP who are purely working on our trial. And we've already actually made a joint application for more grant funding to continue developing new modules in the future at the end of the year with ABP. Bristol were one of the initial design partners a couple of years ago, and we've been working with them really ever since. We're deploying again in August, and we're looking at integrating with their RAS system, which is their legacy system from 10 and 12 years ago. We are looking at raising £600,000 to aid our product rollout with Bristol and ABP, but also actually get our sales and marketing in order for early 2025. We've already got requests from Dover, PD Ports, and we're working on a large container terminal in the east of the country. But we want to get essentially our team in a position that we can actually deal with this, particularly by building out the sales and marketing functions and the client relationships as we go forward. Our target is to reach 70k MRR by June 2025, which should get us to within £30,000 a month of break even. 70k MRR will be through expanding across ABP, Bristol, and bringing on PD Ports who have made a request. Any questions?
Yusuf, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Go for it, Joshua.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe I missed it. Do you have a specific module that aligns labor and asset downtime? Or is that with outside of your domain?
Yeah, so that would be the next step. So engineering integration. So at the moment, we don't have that module. We don't have an IO2 solution. Honestly, as well, the issue for us is that most of the ports don't have the data. For things like their assets, most of them have 4 different types of cranes, all who have different software in terms of managing asset downtime in different places. And until they've really developed the middleware to actually aggregate that data, which I don't think is really where we are operating, we're not really going to plug into that until they've got there. Once they've got that sorted, then we can pull that data. The whole idea from us is that we really focus on labor deployment and then integrate APIs. So at the moment, we integrate with TOS systems because the data is there in good structure in terms of when vessels are coming in, where they're berthing, and if arrival times change. But we want to focus on the deployment. And actually, as a company, we would rather go, right, we've got this 85% tech stack and deployment, labor deployment, let's go into warehousing and integrate with the systems in warehousing than trying to build out a complete terminal operating system or PMIS within the port sphere. So we're really focused on that labor deployment and then pull whatever data is available from APIs to show it and help to deliver analysis.
Okay, lovely. And congrats on the trial with ABP. I saw it on the Port Excel newsletter earlier.
Oh, amazing. I actually didn't know it was there, but yeah, keeping us busy.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you, Cato. Thank you, Joshua. Any other questions? We've got another another minute or two. Maybe just a quick question for me, Kato. So, given that you're helping these ports move from, whiteboards and bits of paper and, sometimes Excel sheets, what's the kind of the consultancy time required? How long does it take to consult with and work with a port to get them to the point where they're ready to pilot the solution?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everything is self-set up. So you can set up your own contract structure, you can set up your own rota structures, your contract constraints on the platform, and you can set up the infrastructure. One of the most valuable things that we've been doing is actually getting ports to think about how they want to set up their ports for reporting and financial reporting and cost coding. So when you put things into the system, you put in the different terminals, the different areas, the different employee groups. And within that, you can have different customer cost codes, you can have different area cost codes, and all of it is set up to automate all of their reporting on both financial elements in terms of where people are working, where people have been redeployed, where they've used third-party labor, where they're using overtime, to essentially give that feedback to the team, but also to link up with external information. One of the big things that we're doing with TOS systems is predicting turnaround times based on labor deployment. At the moment, the biggest constraint in terms of turnaround times is putting people onto roles. It's not a shortage of plant, it's not really a shortage of space, it's literally a shortage of how many people can we get to take things off vessels. So the way we set things up enables us to offer a lot more value to the client, and actually that initial process, very happy to put you in touch with people who are as excited about that as they are about the project going forward as well, which has been great.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kato. On to our next set of presentations. So, Alex, can we bring up the TRIG slide, please? Thank you very much. So, Transport Research Innovation Grant, TRIG. This is a series of programs in partnership with the Department for Transport. We are their preferred supplier and go-to when it comes to innovation against their different policy areas, or a number of their different policy areas. We've run a number of different challenges based upon different priorities. For example, COVID-19 recovery, resilient transport, maritime decarbonisation, local transport decarbonisation, just as examples. It's a fully funded program, so we provide grant funding to the organisations. So far, we've funded 215 projects against 840 applications, issuing just over £7.5 million worth of grant funding to the TRIG cohort. And the cohort have successfully raised between them £89 million of private investment. So on to our next slide, please. So I'd like to introduce Olivier. From Naxxar, and I understand that the Naxxar team are they're all proficient chefs. The team enjoy their food, they enjoy cooking, and when they're not working on Naxxar, they do enjoy their skills in the kitchen. Over to Leif.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we are excited to be on Master Chefs one day in the future as a team. Pleasant good afternoon, everyone, and good morning, those of you who are in different time zones. So what is Naxxar technology trying to solve? Well, we're providing visibility for cargo positioning, visibility for condition of the cargo, and also visibility for emissions. Visualize in your mind that what we're building, I think most of us here from maritime, will be a maritime traffic, but for containers, not for the actual ships. So we're developing, of course, as you can see, a AI freight tracking system that automates the reporting and also integrates payment in the future. Between 2025 and 2050, according to UNCTAD and WTO, global trade will double. And in the container sector, we know it will actually even quadruple in some areas. This creates, of course, very brilliant opportunities for expansion because it will be the largest growth in trade known to mankind. But the flip side of that coin is that we're going to be facing catastrophic challenges, specifically in emissions point of view. So if any action is not taken today, we are expecting with this increase in trade, we can see emissions increasing by 130% above its 2008 level. On the maritime side, most of us will be aware that ships are already reporting their carbon emissions, specifically here in Europe, through Thetis MRV. So we have data points on that. But outside that, on the land logistics supply chain side, we have data blind spots where there's no visibility in terms of real-time monitoring, reporting, and verification of emissions. According to Maersk in the latest study here, we can see that emissions, visibility of emissions is still only 13%, the lowest. But we anticipate in the next 18 months to 2 years that this will be a flip side. The largest challenge or the largest area of concern for the logistics supply chain will actually be the emissions component. So how emissions calculated today? Well, it's based on the GLEC standard, where you have estimates, and you're using what's called an estimating factor. This is, in simple terms, saying that a heavy goods vehicle or lorry moving cargo 250 kilometers from the warehouse in Bangladesh to the port in Bangladesh is equivalent to an existing similar lorry moving the cargo from Liverpool, the port of Liverpool, 250 kilometers inland. We know, of course, this cannot be true because those two journeys cannot be identical, but the GLEC standard just provides this basic measure. It oversimplifies carbon emissions reporting, but it's a baseline that we need to start with. So what is Naxxar trying to do? We're trying to, of course, enhance emissions reporting and automate it in real time. So we are replacing the estimated data points with actual data points using multiple API integration, but we're creating an AI dynamic model which will allow us to improve the land element around the road and route gradient. We're going to bring in traffic data, and in the future, we're going to integrate, of course, weather and other data factors which may cause delays and increase the carbon emissions. So let's just take a quick demo of the platform so you can have an idea of the level of visibility we're providing for customers. So that would be the main entry point and platform. At the moment, we have devices deployed globally in India, we have in Tunisia, we have in Europe here. But our major market at the moment actually is Latin America and South America. And this kind of gives you an idea here in Cologne, the duty-free area or the free zone in Panama, where we have customers using our devices live. The overall dashboard, as I said, is similar to what we see in maritime traffic. So you have an idea of the container visibility. So you can see actually the condition of the container before the cargo is loaded. You have an idea of any warnings, alerts, and of course, on the right-hand side of the dashboard, you can see the emissions on a granular level. You have alerts, so if the cargo is delayed, you have an ID. We have this security element, which gives you the ability to timestamp and geolocate images, pro-reloading, so to ensure the container is cargo-worthy, and the seals and the existing loading after the container is finished, so that you can ensure that everything is safe for your journey. Now, what's exciting is our emissions dashboard. As you can see here now, we have a comparison between the static benchmark, GLEC, and the dynamic, our dynamic AI model. This allows customers to see whether or not they're over or under reporting the emissions and in what leg of the journey this is happening. And then for good order, we have a share functionality so that users, supply chain companies or logistics companies now can share minimize drill down dashboard for external parties, importers, or anyone else who needs to have the same level of visibility and or understanding of the cargo condition and the emissions. So from a competitive landscape, of course, there are some competitors out there who are in the hardware space. But the question we need to ask ourselves, what makes us different? And what makes us different is that we're going to be the low-cost supplier. We're selling the devices to the owner, so you actually own the devices. So the owners can actually deploy the devices in the manner they seem fit. So they're not locked into very large, expensive, long-term contracts. But most importantly, our software or platform will be hardware agnostic, which means that other competitor hardwares will be able to integrate into our platform for the data collection. Our business model is very simple. So you can buy the device, and then from the device, you pay a monthly subscription, which either gives you only cargo visibility, or you have cargo visibility and emissions, or you have cargo visibility, emissions, and data analytics. And then we're moving to have the offsetting built into the platform at a later stage, and payments also to be integrated as a percentage of that fee. Traction to date, well, we're now part of Barclays Eagles Labs. This improves our go-to-market strategy. We've demoed our software with 25 freight forwarders, 15 operators, and 2 container owners in the last 3 months. We got very useful insight from some of the real problems they're solving, some of the processes that they're feeling, well, they're doing manual and they're feeling a pain as they are scaling. And this allowed us to build a software that is actually fit for purpose. Also, we just have our first sales in Tunisia, and we're speaking with other suppliers in USA and Turkey for us to cross-sell our product. We were shortlisted for United Nations Global Supply Chain Innovation Challenge. Our product and solution was considered as highly innovative for resilience, sustainability, and visibility for global supply chains. We're TRIG award winners, of course, and we just recently signed a distribution contract with a supplier, or a distributor in Panama, which allows us to penetrate that market, as you can see, as our core export at the moment. The team myself, well, I've been in the shipping industry for many years, over 15 years. I've worked with a container operating company for a couple of years. Arun, my CTO, he is the data scientist, and he's the one deploying the deep learning model. Below there, we can see we have Daya, our client implementation officer, Pratika, web developer, and our UX UI, Lita. We have also extended team, which are waiting for our scaling so that we can boost our growth where possible. And we also have a very extensive support team in terms of our advisors and experts. So Dr. D is our advisor. He's a machine learning expert from the University of Manchester. Ed Gay is my mentor for over 5 years now. How time flies. He was the head of Lloyd's Lab, the accelerator there for over 5 years. And then Tracy Jones is our coach via Geovation. Below, we have our data scientists who are all experts in emissions mapping and performance management. Our roadmap, of course, is trying to scale and develop our product, but also allow it to improve route optimization and to build in the future, as I said, a payment system, which will allow the exchange of carbon credits or carbon sharing, as we say, carbon as a currency. So that will be our next main target as we develop the product further. Thank you very much for your time. And yes, I'm open to questions.
Great stuff. Thank you, Leif. Okay, just putting out to the floor. Any questions for Naxxar? Maybe I can ask one in the meantime. You've done great to get these global sales. You know, you've got global companies. How are you managing that from the UK? Do you have resellers? Do you work directly? Are you selling direct or indirect?
So we are using a variety of channels. So we're selling to some customers directly. The sales in Panama, we decided to use a distributor there because that individual understands the market much better. So we will sell the devices to that company wholesale, and then they will sell it on to the individual companies. In that region, we are dealing with some of the top logistics providers. I can't call their names because, yeah, we're on NDAs, but there are some of the top ones, as you saw in my business model. So we're doing it indirectly via third party.
Great stuff. Thank you. I see we've got a hand from Valerie Albrecht of Albion VC. Over to you, Valerie.
Thank you, Leif. Great presentation. I had a question around defensibility. You mentioned being a low-cost provider is what makes you different from competition today, but how are you thinking about defending that position in the longer run? Are there any other defensibility points or particular moat that you can talk about?
Yeah, so this is from our customer discovery. Everyone is asking for a lower price point, literally. I've been to Macedonia in Greece. I've been to multimodal here in the UK. I've been to Turkey. And we know that the IoT device costs are significantly dropping. So when I started in this space about 6-7 years ago, Evrium was the only major supplier here, and their devices were about $1,200 to $1,500 a pop. At the moment, we're selling devices at about £55. We anticipate in the next couple of years, the price will continue to fall. In terms of defensibility, we're not a hardware producer. So we are reselling a white label product, hence why we're moving to make our platform hardware agnostic. So it's similar like your mobile phone, Samsung or Apple, you can use it on Vodafone or O2. So we anticipate in the future that the key infrastructure, the digital platform infrastructure we're designing will be scalable, not necessarily the hardware selling and competing with some of the larger hardware like Traxen, who's mainly used by some of the top liners. Yeah, so providing the digital infrastructure, so the scalability be there, not necessarily in the hardware side.
All clear. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So just before we go on to our next TRIG SME, actually, Valerie, would you mind just introducing Albion VC, telling us a bit about your fund?
Yes, of course. So nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Val, investment manager at Albion VC. I focus most of my time on supply chain, cybersecurity, and insurtech, and the intersection of all of those areas. Regarding Albion VC, so we've been around since 1996. We have about £1 billion under management, which we invest in UK-based B2B software businesses. And we invest from C to Series B. We lead or co-lead rounds. Ticket sizes really vary from 1 to 10 million. Our funds are evergreen, which means that we provide patient capital and partner for the long run, which is actually especially interesting for supply chain companies where sometimes adoption can take a bit longer. But it also means that we're able to participate in follow-on rounds as well. Very excited to hear more pitches.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Val. And yeah, thank you for joining us and introducing Albion as well. Okay, on to our next TRIG SME, next TRIG venture. We've got Sam from Zak Mobility, and literally they've reinvented the wheel. So over to you, please, Zak.
Hi guys, just bring up the screen.
While you do that, Sam's a very impressive inventor and innovator, holding multiple patents. And yeah, been a pleasure to work with you on TRIG. Over to you, Sam.
Hi guys, my name's Sam Pearce. I'm the CEO of Zak Mobility. We're a Nottinghamshire-based company in the middle of the UK, and we've reinvented the wheel. We've combined the powertrain, the suspension, the braking, the sensing, all into one unit. We've got 2 GB patents granted, and we're also protecting in Europe, North America, China, India. Sorry, a bit of my screen I can't see because I've got people in the way. And India, Japan, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. So our beachhead market is the heavy-duty e-cargo bike market. These vehicles are currently used in urban settings and can carry up to 1/4 ton of payload. We are actually working with these 3 companies shown on the slide to fit our technology to the next generation of vehicles. With our wheels fitted to the vehicle, they're lighter, they can carry more load, and they have less maintenance or no maintenance at all. And with the added benefit of reduced road vibration for both the rider and the cargo. Our technology meshes well with the needs of this market, and the response we have had from them so far has been very positive. The micromobility market is a high growth market, and our technology is applicable to much of it. We think these areas shown in the slide will be good for us, and this has been confirmed as we are currently talking to different companies in each one of these sectors. Our wheels are currently undertaking field trials. This is giving us data and feedback on their performance, which will help us to finalize the design. We are at a TRL level 6. Our manufacturing readiness is actually higher at MRL 8, as we have experience of manufacturing here in the UK. Here's the projection of our revenue for the next 4 years. We've been quite conservative with our numbers, and we think the actual figures will be considerably higher. With our business model, we plan to manufacture the wheels here in the UK. This gives us early revenue, which is always useful. And then as the numbers increase, we'll subcontract out the manufacture to our trusted partners. And then in the long term, we plan to license the technology. This will allow us to go into multiple areas without actually having to invest in the development. We also expect to have, we also have a very positive approach to IPR, and we will be protecting our IPR as we go forward. We are looking for an investment of £1 million. This will allow us to implement our manufacturing strategy and get to revenue, whilst bringing through the development of the second market products. The team is myself and Chris Prentice. We are aided by our current investors, the Kero Group and British Design Fund, who were part of our seed investment of £500,000 last year. We have a plan to grow our team where necessary. We think our exit will come from one of the following: a component supplied to the transport industry, or one of the more tech-focused automotive companies, or one of the service companies that uses micromobility daily. We have already been approached by one of these companies, sectors, about this. Questions, please.
Good work, Sam. Thank you for your presentation. Short, sharp, to the point. Looks like you're making some great progress there. Any questions for Sam? Can you tell us more about the are you able to tell us more about the pilots that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So we only started developing this product in earnest once we got our investment last year, and quite a lot of the early time was spent on the stress analysis of the composite spring. And we only actually went to the market in March and called them all blind or cold. And we've managed to pick up 3 of the market leaders as our trialers. So we're currently just finishing off the first set of V2 wheels to be sent out to our customers to trial. We're trialing them internally, but they will be trialing them over the next couple of months, giving us feedback. We're hoping that our wheels will be generic and fit to all their vehicles, but there will be some modifications we need to do for each client.
Okay, wonderful. And in terms of some of the biggest kind of, given it's a new design of a wheel that's incorporating suspension and a motor, how are you finding the conversations with potential partners? Are they kind of quite open to it? Are they are there significant challenges that they think they might face?
So yeah, so the existing cargo bike people, there's either the ones entering the market who understand that they need their vehicles to be robust. There's a new European standard which is very hard hitting, literally, and quite a lot of the vehicles are failing. With our wheels, they will pass the test. And then you've got the established players who are wanting to do second generation vehicle, so they want the better, newer technology that's in the market, and we fit that bill really nicely. So literally, within the last month, I've picked up 4 or 5 leads, which will lead to development with them.
Fantastic, great stuff. So I don't think we have any questions at the moment. So what I'll do is thank you very much, Sam. Really good seeing you. And if we can go over to the next slide, please, Alex. Wonderful. Okay, on to our final group. These are a couple of ventures from our National Highways Accelerating Low Carbon Innovation Programme. So National Highways, this particular National Highways Programme is there to stimulate innovation around helping this particular sponsor reach their net zero targets by 2040. So they're looking at things like alternative materials, better asset management, circular economy, and an open challenge as well. Out of this particular program, we've had 7 innovators selected from 52 applications, and the trials that have been taking place have been conducted in collaboration with Tier 1s. What I'd like to do is introduce Richard from PRG Scotland. And actually, before I introduce Richard, so just take us that way, is there any investors who'd like to introduce themselves? Just kind of share a bit of information about your fund, or I can perhaps pick someone out from the list. Okay, so what? Let's go for is Keenan from Innovate UK?
Hi, everyone. So yeah, we're Innovate UK. We are the UK's innovation agency. So we support innovative concepts across various domains. I myself am focused on the net zero domain in the investment team. So I lead on various initiatives looking to stimulate increased private investment into net zero focused initiatives across the country. We are active in various domains and involved with innovation. So we run programs, competitions, and so on. We're involved across all areas to do with innovation. But as you probably already know, we do provide also significant amounts of financing in the form of grants and loans in particular. So if you'd like to find out more about that, do feel free to get in touch with me or consult our web sources for that kind of information. And yeah.
Great. Thank you, Keenan. Thank you for joining us today. So let's go over to Richard, please. Richard from PRG.
Yeah, I'll just start sharing my screen. Is that clear and everyone can see?
Can you full screen it, please, Richard?
Yeah, that should be 1 second. I think I'll need to stop sharing. Sorry, I will.
There we go.
Can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Yeah, is that still okay?
Yep.
Perfect. We got there. Sorry about that. Hi there, I'm Richard Hutchins, and today what I'd like to do is tell you how we can reduce waste, improve the environment, and also help National Highways achieve net zero for road construction materials, and also build a profitable business supplying the much needed low carbon road materials. If it's okay, I'd like to go to the situation we have, our process, some of our achievements, and also our plan for the future. National Highways have an objective is to reduce CO2 levels associated with their services. This includes reaching net zero by 2040 for construction and road making materials. PRG's plan is to convert waste ties into low carbon materials for road construction. We are working with our mentors, which are both Amy UK and Vinci Construction, to achieve this. Bitumen is a binder which is used in asphalt, and it's a major component in road construction. And the UK has a high dependency on imported bitumen, and this has increased over the last 10 years, and it's also resulted in issues with such as quality and also significant cost increases, and more worryingly associated CO2 due to it being imported from across the globe. Under the Low Carbon Accelerator programme, we've been allowed PRG to fund early research into this area. And our base material is waste tyres. And the UK currently exports over 300,000 tonnes of waste tyres per annum. And they go into countries in Asia where they're incinerated, dumped or pyrolyzed, often with little or no emission controls. And our solution is to convert this waste into bitumen for road construction. PRG, We're based in the United Kingdom, and we're a development and patent development company, and we've developed a continuous reductive distillation system known as CRD. The CRD system converts waste tyres in an environmentally, commercially viable way, and it converts them into commodities for the circular economy. We're seeking funding of £500,000 to further develop and prove and commercialise our patented process. If we look at our process, we take waste tyres, we first shred them into small pieces, and then we feed them into our continuous reductive distillation system. The system, as the material moves through the CRD chain, it's heated, and this removes the oils that are contained within the tyre material in vapour form, and this then exits the machine and where it's cooled into a liquid. The oil can be used as a base for bitumen for road construction and also as a fuel oil. The remaining solids, the steel and the carbon black, are cooled and separated. The steel goes to the well-established steel recycling industry. And the carbon black, we've been utilising that and using it as a blending agent to add to bitumen for use in road construction. And because this will lower the CO2 levels associated with fossil fuel-based bitumen and reduce the UK's dependency on imported bitumen. So what have we achieved and where we've got to today? We've optimised the CRD process to give us an output for the requirements for bitumen, and changes were in the operating parameters and temperature and residency times. The process now takes about 35 minutes for waste to enter and commodities to exit the system. The oil analysis has shown that it contains a heavy element of oil, which is used as a base for bitumen. We've developed a way of separating this chemically. However, we're looking at developing this so it can be done at source, and it can be used in asphalt manufacturing. The mainly light oil is being chemically analysed as a fuel oil, and it's showing great promise. And the intention is to use this as to fuel bitumen and asphalt plants to help reduce the industry's reliance upon fossil fuels. The carbon black, we've been blending this and working with JLUK, one of our mentors, and with the road grade bitumen by up to 10%, and it is reducing the carbon footprint of the asphalt and the bitumen. In fact, it's shown additional benefits because it's making the asphalt shows greater durability and which will give it a longer life, therefore giving further CO2 savings. But it's showing that if we convert the 300,000 tonnes of waste products into road machines, into road going materials for use in the UK, it's a very much achievable project. So if we look at that from our impact from an environmental point of view, we can create a sustainable disposal route for waste tyres, making products for the circular economy, and we can achieve carbon footprint reductions demanded by public government and industry to meet future regulations. We can create jobs. We can remove tyre dumps and stop rodents and insects using them as breeding grounds. We can streamline the supply chain for bitumen within the UK. And above all, we can reduce the carbon footprint. All will benefit the society and environment. But above all, we can create an ethically responsible, profitable business. The plan that we have to move forward is our development plan is working with the Material Technology Centre in Coventry. Our next stage is to build a working prototype, a prototype of our process. Which will then incorporate all the efficiencies and the upgrades that we've discovered as we've been going through this low carbon accelerator program. We'll operate the machine and refine the process and the products and we're working with Robert Gordon University and the University of Nottingham's Pavement Research Department. But as we develop the product, we'll be working in parallel with the National Highways procurement team, ensuring that we will meet all their safety and supply requirements, which will give us a much smoother transition at the first stage of the first commercial operation. Now, the first commercial plant will process over 17,000 tonnes per year and will provide the material for the large-scale application trials. This will then lead to further plants across the UK in strategically beneficial locations with strong growth plan. However, to get there, we need to raise further fundings. Hence, that's why we're here today. And if you've got any questions, I can certainly answer anything I can.
Excellent presentation, Richard. Great. It's great to see how you've taken something that's massively complex with so many moving parts, and you've managed to present it in 5 minutes. Thank you for doing that. Super interesting innovation and patented design process, converting waste tires into usable other products. Any questions from the from investors? Yep. Mohammed, please. Kantar.
Thanks, Yusuf. And thank you, Richard. Great idea. And as Yusuf said, like you're moving multiple parts altogether into this. I just have a couple of questions, or like they can be grouped into one. And it is related to scalability and also to like how would you scale something like that? Because I think there is the feedstock part that you are also looking to take care of, and also the offtake on the other end, and any regulations that come into in between. So can you just like give us a little bit more information about how you look into that for the future scalability of the company?
Yeah, as in the scalability of the company, if as in the previous slide there, we're looking to develop the product so we can get the national highways have a major issue and they need to get low carbon materials. So we know there is a market there. What we've got to do is prove the products. As we prove the products and doing the testing, we've already created asphalt and been doing some very preliminary trials on it, and it's passing all the tests that it requires for use in road applications within the UK. So that's given us a great platform to jump forward from. As we develop, we want to work with the procurement department in that national highways so that we'll have a smooth transition. As we get it developed, we can then start doing the larger scale trials, which would need to get it to be used fully on British roads. But once we've achieved that with the first commercial plant, then we can then move forward and really replicate this really rapidly. But more importantly, if we look further than this, we could actually export it. We could export the technology and use it further afield. So there would be benefits wherever they have roads in the world have got a major tyre problem. And even from the technology's point of view, the technology that we're using is it's off the peg technology. It's nothing new. It's the way in which we handle it and control the gases and handle the process that is new and where we've managed to get the patent. So from that point of view, the technology, it was harder to scale it down to make our proof of concept unit because there wasn't any equipment available. However, if we go to major manufacturers that can build us a large scale 17,000 ton plant very, very quickly and very easily. So the scalability, I think, will be quite easy. The biggest thing from scalability is to make sure that we have all the end products, markets for them before we start to produce them, because that would be the downside. We must make sure we have everything sold before we can build a plant, because we'll be just storing materials. So we know we can sell with the steel. The carbon black, if we could use it 10% in British roads, it means that currently UK import over 1.2 million tons. So it's over 100,000 tons of carbon black. It's a potential that we could produce. And funny enough, if we convert 300,000 tons of waste ties that we currently export, it's just over 100,000 tons of carbon black. So it almost matches it almost identically from that. Now then, when we then start to look at the oil we can, as it comes off our process, we could use it as a heavy grade fuel oil. However, I don't really want to use it as a fuel oil. I want to get as many compounds out there that we can to capture carbon and store it in the roads. So the development will be to separate the oils into heavy oil and light oil, develop the heavy oil as a bitumen. We'll then have the fuel oil, the lighter oil, which we could use as a fuel. It's got a high calorific value. It's got a very good pour point. And if we could utilize that in the industry, in the road building industry, to power the bitumen and asphalt plants, it's further reducing their requirements of fossil fuels. So it's an added benefit. So we're taking the waste and creating it into something that's very usable.
Richard, I'm going to have to hold. Apologies. Yeah. I mean, I love hearing about the process.
Sorry,
Mohammed, thank you so much for the question.
Richard, it's a big subject. I do apologize.
It's a great subject. It really. So I'm just conscious that we're almost at time. We were supposed to have a hard stop at 1:30. We've got one more presentation. Let's just go straight into. Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Mohammed, for the question. Let's go to Ben, please. Ben from Circular 11. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Yusuf, and thank you all for your time. I appreciate graveyard slot here, and you've all got places to be, so I'll try and be super succinct, and we'll see where we get to. First of all, Yusuf, can you see the screen? Is it shared okay? Great. So my name's Ben. I'm the co-founder of Circular 11, and we develop manufacturing technology that turns low-grade plastic into a feedstock for low-carbon infrastructure. We're deploying our materials already, and we're scaling them through a disruptive manufacturing business. And we also aim to license this technology to manufacturers in other product and market segments so that we can mainstream the use of low-grade plastic in manufacturing. It's worth saying up front, we are a social enterprise. We originally decided to create a company after me and my co-founder met on waste management projects in Nepal. And one day we'd love to be able to deploy this technology in communities that currently lack waste management infrastructure as a whole. But just to dive straight into it, I'm not going to spend very much time on the global context for this problem, but it's worth clarifying a couple of points around it so you understand where our technology comes in. Most plastic that gets sent to recycling facilities doesn't get recycled. That's not a huge shock potentially for many people. But the reason is that there's such a mixture of grades within each polymer type. There's a mixture of additives. It's very difficult to segregate plastic to such an extent that manufacturers can use it. So currently, even if we just take the most recyclable types of plastic that there is, polyethylenes, polypropylene, about 30% is recycled. This is then incinerated in a process that's more carbon intensive than coal production. But I want to juxtapose this with an undersupply problem in another sector. And this might be something you're slightly less familiar with. Timber demand is far, far outstripping timber supply, and the state of timber products is seriously deteriorating since the 2023 creosote ban. It's very, very recent. Lifespans of timber products are collapsing, and this is how we ended up working with National Highways. It's interesting to note that maybe there'll be about 1 billion tons of plastic waste in 2060. There'll be about 1 billion tons undersupply of timber. So we really see this as a synergistic kind of oversupply, undersupply problem. And the amount of fencing, decking, and other outdoor products that's out there is humongous. This is a humongous industry that's ripe for disruption. So most people will buy recycled content that's heavily purified, and as I said, only a very small amount of plastic can achieve that kind of commercial grade. We've developed process control technology that essentially chemically profiles input waste streams and uses machine learning to optimize formulations to create a standardized output material. So even if we have changes in input streams, even if we have different types of polymers, polymer grades, different types of additives within that, we can continuously and in process adjust the formulation ever so slightly to compensate for those variations on the input stream. And so the output is a standardized material. I'm going to slightly whiz through this for the sake of time. The material will always have the same properties as plastic in a beneficial way. It doesn't rot, it doesn't need maintenance, and so it has a lot longer a lifespan than traditional timber products. You might be familiar with plastic lumber in domestic applications like furniture. Unlike other manufacturers, we're using material and feedstock that cannot be used elsewhere. So we're directly diverting carbon emissions. We recycle everything ourselves. We want to collect, we set up reverse logistics infrastructures with our customers, and we've developed a kind of traceable system that plugs into the machine learning system. So we can give very up-to-date reporting. At the moment, we've developed this into a manufacturing business here in Dorset, where we're based, and we're creating products directly for customers that might be like shelters, that might be furniture, and we're just starting to get into high volume fencing, which I'll get into in a second. But just to be really clear, there are two arms to this business in the future. One is us as a manufacturer developing a disruptive building material, and the other is us going to piping producers and other plastic extrusion manufacturers and saying, you currently use virgin or 80% virgin, how about we get 100% recycle it into your operations using our process control technology. I don't have too much time to go into this, and it's not a nice looking slide anyway, but they're very large markets, and we've deployed them successfully in National Highways contexts, and we're deploying, just to give you a bit of a context, when we're in commercial conversations with even a project A66, that's a multi-million-pound fencing contract. We're also deploying acoustic barriers. We're trying to develop decking for next year. So these are very exciting product categories for us. We do all sorts of products here. just to kind of bring you up to date with where we are and what we're looking for here, we've done an angel round last year. We've got over double or almost double the amount of angel funding in public financing. That's almost $500,000. But to get to seed funding next year, we really need to get to, we want to get to about £80,000 a month. We're currently at about £30,000 a month in terms of revenue, but we just need to get that extra bit of efficiency and scale. So we're doing another kind of round for angels and family offices primarily, or we expect that because of the round, it's about 150, maybe £200,000. And then a seed round next year. So really happy to talk about both of those things. I've just given a little bit of a context for what that round is, but yeah, delighted to get the opportunity to speak to you all. And if there are any questions, we'd love to answer them. Thanks very much.
Amazing, Ben. Thank you so much for taking us through Circular 11. Congratulations on your successes so far. Yeah, I didn't realize there was going to the balance of the undersupply and oversupply of waste plastics and timber was such. So yeah, super interesting. Any questions for Alex? Sorry, for Ben. Apologies.
Yes, I'm interested to understand a few things about the product, Ben. So, in terms of sort of durability and so on, what's its comparables to things like timber?
So timber on the road network is meant to last about 30 years, 25 years. Everything on the road network is meant to last about that. Asset managers are getting about 5 to 7 at the moment. I said that there's a 2023 creosote ban. Timber preservatives have started to phase, or they've started to phase out from the early 2010s. So we're starting to see around a 5 to 7 year lifespan. When we replace some furniture for like products in leisure facilities, for example, they're getting as little as 3. But we're talking tannalized softwood. So it depends on the type of timber. Plastic, we should expect this to last at least 30 years. The long-term fatigue testing would suggest slightly longer. It just depends on what how brave we are with guarantees, I guess.
And how workable is it as a material? I mean, is it sort of stuff you could buy from a fencing place and then go cut up with a circular saw yourself and build a shed house up, for example? Or is it that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah, we've sold individual materials and we work with Travis Perkins at the moment. We're working with Travis Perkins and Waits to kind of see what that would look like. The way that you get into Travis Perkins, we can't start selling individual planks straight away. They have to have enough B2B demand, but that's where we see this going. We see B2B and then eventually, why would you buy timber? You know that it's not going to last. Pay a 20% uplift on it, something like that.
Yeah. And in terms of the stock that you have, do you have enough stock supply in order to meet the scalable demand that's out there?
This I'm going to try and be super succinct with this, but it's the bane of my life. It's the bane of everyone in a manufacturing sector's life. This chicken and egg problem. With the A66, for example, we love doing commercial negotiations for a £2 million fencing contract, but 101 kilometers of boundary fencing, 10 kilometers of acoustic fencing. There is no way that we can do that kind of monthly production here. What we're trying to do basically is there are maintenance contracts that highways do. It might be that they need 2 kilometers a month. That is for us that's what excites me, because stock's a big issue. We can store about 10 tons, 12 tons. We can make up to 20. If we get another extruder for 25k, we can make up to 30 tons a month. We can't store 30 tons a month because we're in an industrial unit. So it's a challenge. It's probably overcomable, but it's a challenge.
Yeah. No, I understand. Okay, so what sort of money are you looking for investment wise at the moment?
2 conversations that I'm really would love to have. One is for people that just have larger tickets and they're saying not for now, but for next year, if we're raising a proper fund for a 1.5 million seed round, great. At the moment, we are pretty stymied in terms of cash flow. We're saying, well, we're going to really struggle to deliver on this order because we don't have a second extruder and we don't have the cash flow. So at the moment, what would excite me most is someone that says, they're maybe an angel or they are contributing to an angel round of about 200k. We'd love to go between the 150, 250 mark, whether it's a ticket that big or slightly smaller. About a 3.5 million valuation, seed round next summer. As soon as we hit 70k, 80k a month, we'd expect that to be a much larger kind of round.
Okay, makes sense. So, The only reason I ask is because with Spartan Capital, by the way, is who we are. So we've got a lot of contacts in different countries who would potentially be looking to finance the setup of something like this in another country. So in other words, build a facility for you in Saudi Arabia, for sake of argument, and pump a lot of money into it. So that's why I was interested to sort of see where you guys are at the moment.
Cool.
Unfortunately, I have to dash now, but it's really good. I've sent you a LinkedIn connection, Ben. So let's organise a chat at some point.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I would love that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Ben, fantastic presentation. Thank you for taking the questions and for going through your presentation so quickly. Alex,
thanks very much.
Alex Lamley, next slide, last slide, please. We'll just kind of finish off. So next steps, investors, if you'd like a copy of the SME's pitch deck as a follow-up, or you'd like any introductions, or if I can answer any initial questions, please send them over. Ventures, SMEs at presenter today, thank you so much for presenting today, for giving up your time, preparing the presentations, getting them ready, practicing, rehearsing, taking all my questions. We're going to be in touch with questions, comments, or any other follow-up. There's also some investors that registered that weren't able to make it today that have messaged me separately to ask for some information as well. So there's going to be some activity outside this event. Last slide. Thank you. Just wishing you all a great summer, and look forward to connecting with you once again, probably towards the end of summer, or the end of August, or early in September. And in the meantime, have a great rest of week, and I'll see you all soon.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.